Before her son escaped from a home in southern Utah, Ruby Franke and her family lived here in this Springville, Utah affluent neighborhood in the north central part of the state. Now with a taped up front door, this is the family home where the Frankes once lived.
I know that somehow during the process of all this going on with the police and other family members and who knows, someone apparently broke the door. So he hasn't been able to get it replaced yet. He's in that process, but yeah, so he's probably got tape on it.
This week, Law&Crime Network crews traveled to Springville, Utah, where the entire Franke family once lived. Almost immediately, our crews noticed something out of the ordinary at the home, as tape covered the front door, indicating it had been broken down. Kevin Franke's attorney, Randy Kester, says he isn't sure why the family home has a busted-up front door. Somebody broke in?
Well, they broke the door. I don't know if someone broke in. I mean, family members have had access to the home, so I don't think they had any reason to kick the door down, but someone broke the door.
Kester says his client is back in the family home in Springville after spending more than a year away. While he wouldn't say where Kevin Franke was staying, other than somewhere in Utah County, Kester did say he moved out at the insistence of Ruby Franke and her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt.
Kevin very much loved his children and loved his wife and had a strong bond, an exceptionally strong bond with all of his kids. You've seen pictures of their family together. He was involved in all sorts of activities. He was a great dad. But Ruby felt like there were differences in their marriage, and at one point, in conjunction with Jodi Hildebrandt, it was sort of like, we have to separate to save our marriage. You know, we'll keep working on our marriage, but for now, you know, if we're gonna repair our marriage and be back together as a family, you have to be away, and you have to work on yourself, and don't have contact with the kids, don't have contact with me unless I initiate it.
Now known the world over as an alleged child abuser, Ruby Franke and her family first gained notoriety on their YouTube channel 8 Passengers, sharing videos of their family's life to more than 2 million subscribers.
One thing that I think is very, very harmful is inappropriate memes. There are some hilarious memes out there, but there are also some memes that are just downright nasty. And I think it's important that we know what our kids are looking at on their Instagram feeds.
Chad hasn't had a flip phone, a smartphone, any kind of phone, and it's been over a year. Mm-hmm. And I still have no intention of returning a phone. Abby, we took the phone away from Abby in November. And you may never get the phone back.
Probably not.
Eventually, Ruby segued from the now defunct 8 Passengers channel to a new organization called Connections, which she contributed to with Hildebrandt. How did Jodi come into play with all the family?
Through Ruby, but I don't know that entire story. I just know that it wasn't very long after they were introduced to her that she and Jodi created this Connections network and started podcasting again.
Kester says he's unclear whether the family's national exposure on the 8 Passengers channel affected its dynamics. He does, however, allege that Jodi Hildebrandt instigated the separation between Ruby and Kevin.
I don't think he's made that parallel. I don't think that he believes that's what led up to this. But what I can say, at least it's my observation, that while the family may have had some struggles prior to Jodi coming into their lives, it just kind of seems like to me, and this is my personal opinion, that once she got involved in their lives, it just destroyed his family. Focus has been on Kevin. Where was he? Why was he absent? How does that all happen? So he was doing that at Ruby's direction, who I think was being directed by Jodi. This is the way that you've got to repair your marriage and repair your family. So they were all sort of kind of being manipulated, and this is just my opinion, by Jodi. And I think she knew what she was doing, and it was causing significant damage. And so when Kevin's critics are out there saying, where was he? He was acting at the direction of what he thought was a competent mental health care provider and advisor. And to me, the better question is, what kind of mental health care provider would advise a family and a husband and wife and a husband and or a father and children that this can repair your family if you just stay away from each other? And I'm confident that she told that to Ruby. I'm confident that the children were being told that, and Kevin was certainly being told that I know what I'm doing, you need to stay away.
Last month, Ruby Franke and Hildebrandt were arrested about 250 miles south of the Franke family home in Springville. This after Franke's 12-year-old son escaped from Hildebrandt's Ivins, Utah home, running to a neighbor for help.
This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
2 Franke children were taken to the hospital for treatment after they were found emaciated. 4 of the kids are now being held by the Division of Child and Family Services. But according to his attorney, Kevin Franke hadn't seen his kids in more than a year and didn't even know they were hours away from the family home.
Oh, he was just horrified by what the reports were, and he actually went there to get his kids when he found out about this. He drove all the way to southern Utah, which is 250 miles, and met with law enforcement and gave statements and made an effort to try to get his kids out of that mess.
Since then, Kevin Franke hasn't been in communication with his children and is working to regain custody. Kester says he's back in the family's Springville home, but still gave few answers about what could have happened to the door.
I honestly don't know. He doesn't know. He wasn't there. He didn't know. None of the neighbors have reported that anyone came over, that they saw anyone just damaging the door. So he just honestly doesn't know. No one's told him.
Was anything missing from inside the house?
Well, I think some of the kids, the older kids, were in the home. So to his knowledge, he hadn't lived there for 13 months. So he doesn't know what was there. He hasn't told me that he saw anything missing other than some personal papers. But other than that, he hasn't reported to me that anything was stolen. We've had this discussion, and he says, I don't have any solid proof of who did it. All he knows is he's got to get it fixed again, and it was quite expensive.
Yeah, looks like a nice door.
You said it has to get fixed again. Was it broken prior to this?
No.
Oh, just
No.
get it fixed.
Get it fixed.
Yeah, okay.
Good catch.
Meanwhile, Ruby Franke and Hildebrandt are being held without bail in Washington County, Utah. The pair were set to appear in court on September 18th, but the hearing was delayed in the 11th hour due to copious amounts of evidence. According to court documents, they'll be back in court after October 5th. Kester says it was new information handed over by law enforcement the morning of the scheduled hearing that caused both sides to delay the bail hearing. And while the Franke story continues to captivate the nation, some have had an adverse reaction to the attention it's receiving. We reached out to others in the neighborhood to ask about the Franke family, and no one wanted to speak on camera. When asked whether they knew the family, multiple people said they had no comment. The ones that did speak to us simply said the media frenzy in this neighborhood since Franke's arrest has been overwhelming. Reporting in Springville, Utah, Sierra Gillespie, Law&Crime Network.